I don't remember the moment it happened.
I remember the sound, metal crunching like bones, glass exploding, the hiss of something leaking, and then, silence.
The last thing I saw was the red tail lights of the truck that cut me off, then the blur of trees flipping upside down. My car had gone over the guardrail, crashing into a ravine outside Philadelphia. The world tilted, and in one violent second, everything changed. When I opened my eyes, it was smoke I saw first.
Smoke and fire.
The car was sideways. I was pinned. My legs were stuck, my chest burning, ribs screaming. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. My hands clawed at the seatbelt, but it wouldn't budge. I was going to die. Alone. Burned alive. Then he appeared. A dark figure moved through the smoke, tall, fast, and deliberate. He didn't hesitate. He didn't speak. He shattered the driver's side window with something heavy and reached in, his gloved hands grabbing at the belt. The smell of gasoline was thick in the air. Time had slowed to a crawl. "Stay with me," he said. His voice was low, deep, calm. Like the world wasn't on fire. The belt snapped, and then I was being pulled out, pain tearing through my body as metal scraped skin and bone. I remember the wind hitting my face as he lifted me, carried me like I weighed nothing. He ran, fast and sure-footed, just as the car behind us exploded in a roar of flames.
Then darkness.
I woke up in silk sheets. At first, I thought I was dead.
No hospital beep, no fluorescent lights.
Just dim lighting, soft bedding, and the faint scent of sandalwood and leather. The room was huge, bigger than my entire apartment. Ceiling-high windows, velvet curtains, and expensive furniture that didn't belong in any medical facility. I tried to sit up. Pain shot through my ribs. I groaned. "You're awake."
The voice came from the corner of the room.
I turned my head slowly. He was there, my rescuer. He stepped into the light, wearing a tailored black suit and a guarded expression. Sharp jawline, dark hair, olive skin, and piercing gray eyes that watched me like a hawk. "I'm Vincent," he said.
Vincent de Lucas.
I blinked.
The name meant nothing to me. Where am I?
My throat was dry, voice hoarse. "You're safe.
That is all that matters."
I tried to move again. Pain flared across my side. Bandages wrapped around my ribs and thigh. Someone had treated me.
Cleaned the blood.
Changed my clothes. "This isn't a hospital," I said. "No, it's not." His honesty was startling. He didn't even try to lie. Why not? "Because I don't trust hospitals. And neither should you." I frowned. "I need to call my brother. Jace."
Et Seventine, et.
"Already taken care of. He thinks you're staying overnight for observation after a minor car accident. He's safe." "You spoke to him?" He nodded once. That should have been comforting. It wasn't. I didn't know this man. Didn't know where I was. But every instinct in my body told me one thing. I was not free. Over the next 2 days, I learned 3 things. First, I was in a private estate just outside the city, 30 miles north of Philadelphia, surrounded by acres of gated forest. Second, I had 4 broken ribs, a fractured femur, and a mild concussion. And third, no one, not the police, not the press, not even my workplace, knew what really happened. Vincent didn't explain how. But I wasn't stupid. He had money, power,
Influence.
enough to erase a near-death crash from public record. "You should rest," he said every time I asked questions. "Focus on healing." But I couldn't rest. I needed answers. On the 3rd night, I left my bed and limped through the hallway, using the wall for balance. I found a study, dark wood shelves, books, old maps. There were documents on the desk. I read enough to understand. Vincent de Luca was not just a businessman. He was something else.
Something, darké.
And then I heard his voice behind me. "You shouldn't be in here, Claire." I turned sharply. Pain lanced through my side, but I didn't flinch. "Who are you really?" He didn't answer. He walked past me, poured himself a drink, and stared out the window. Finally, he said, "The crash wasn't an accident." My heart stopped. "What?" "Your brakes were cut. Deliberately. You were supposed to die. I stared at him, chest tightening. Why?
Because of your father. My father is dead.
I know. But the debts he left behind aren't.
He staggered back, clutching the edge of the desk.
He turned to face me.
The man who wanted you dead is named Dmitrinova. Eastern European arms dealer.
He thinks your father owed him. And now he thinks you do. That's insane. Vincent didn't argue. I intercepted the order, he said.
Ik knew aider comme for you.
That's why I was there. I stared at him. You knew.
You let it happen.
I stopped it. No, I said, shaking. You waited. You let me almost die, just so you could come in and play hero. He didn't respond. Because it was true. In that moment, I realized something more terrifying than the crash, more suffocating than the pain. I had traded one kind of danger for another.
And Vincent de Lucas?
He wasn't just the man who saved me. He was the man who made sure I needed saving. I didn't speak to Vincent for 2 days. He didn't force me. He didn't threaten me. He simply gave me space, or at least, that's what he called it. But space felt a lot like surveillance. There were guards outside my door. Discreet but visible. One stood near the stairs at all times. Another outside the garden when I tried to get fresh air. My phone was gone. No laptop. No access to the outside world except for what he allowed. I was healing. The bruises had faded. My ribs still ached, but I could walk now, unaided. And the more my body recovered, the more my mind screamed to escape. I thought about running. Thought about sneaking past the guards, breaking into a car, making it back to the city somehow. But something in me knew better. Vincent wasn't just a man with power. He was the kind of man who knew things, who planned 5 moves ahead. If I ran, he'd find me.
If he folged, he'd lose.
And so I waited. On the 5th morning, he came to me with breakfast. I figured you were tired of oatmeal, he said, setting a silver tray on the table by the window. French toast. Berries. Fresh coffee. I stared at him. His suit was charcoal gray today, shirt open at the collar. He looked more like a CEO than a criminal. But I'd seen enough now to know both could be true. I'm not hungry, I said. He poured coffee anyway. You haven't asked about Jace, he said after a moment. My stomach tightened. Is he okay? He's fine. Attending school. Playing video games at night. He's been told you're recovering from surgery.
You'll be back soon.
I hated how calm he was. How he'd taken over my life without permission, managed everything like I was just another piece of his empire. You lied to him, I said. I protected him. I stood. Pain shot through my leg, but I stayed upright. You don't get to decide what's best for me. Or my brother. Vincent looked at me for a long time. I didn't want you involved in any of this, he said finally. But you already were. Before you even knew. He turned away and walked to the window. For a moment, he looked tired. Older. Your father wasn't who you thought he was, Claire. He wasn't just a construction foreman. He moved things, money, weapons. Quietly. Efficiently. For the wrong people.
No, he whispered. You were a child.
He kept it from you. But Novak knew. And when your father died, the debt didn't die with him. I sat slowly.
This is insane.
I'm a nurse.
I barely make rent.
What could Novak possibly want from me? You, Vincent said. Your silence.
Your compliance. Or your blood.
The room went quiet. You should have told me, I said. I did. No, I snapped. You let me get into that car.
You let it happen.
You could have stopped it before it started. He said nothing. I stood again, this time with rage giving me strength. You're just like him, I said.
You think because you saved me, you own me. That I'm something to be protected, locked away, hidden.
His jaw clenched.
I don't own you.
Then let me leave.
No. The word was simple. Final.
I laughed, but it came out broken. Why?
Because he might get hurt? Or because if he go, you lose control? Vincent stepped closer, eyes dark.
Because if you go, Novak will find you. And he won't miss next time. He paused, his voice softening. You think I'm the villain in this story. Maybe I am. But he's worse. Much worse. I looked away. What does he want now?
Vincent hésita-t-elle.
He wants leverage. Me. That caught me off guard. You? I've been dismantling his business for years. Cutting off his trade routes. Cleaning up this city piece by piece. He's losing power. He's desperate. And I'm what? Bait? No, Vincent said.
You're a warning.
I frowned. He wanted you dead to remind me that no one in my world is safe. Not even someone innocent. Not even someone I. He stopped. But I heard the word anyway.
Someone.
The silence stretched between us, too thick to cut. Finally, I asked the question that had haunted me since I woke up in this place.
What are you, Vincent?
He looked at me then, fully. No masks. No polished lies. I run a family. We have money. We have weapons. We have reach.
Some call us a syndicate.
Others call us a necessary evil. I don't care what name they use. I only care that people like Novak don't win.
You're a mafia boss.
If that makes it easier to understand, sure. I swallowed hard. You kill people? When I have to. And me?
What am I to you?
His voice dropped. You were a nurse in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And now you're more.
That doesn't answer my question. He stepped even closer. So close I could feel the warmth of him, the danger. You're the only person who's ever looked me in the eyes and called me out on my bullshit.
You don't flinch. You don't pretend.
You see me. And I think that scares me more than anything. I backed away. I don't want to be part of this world. You already are. I wanted to scream. To run. But part of me, a small trembling part, was still anchored to that night. To the moment he pulled me from the wreckage. To the way he said my name like it mattered.
I need time, he whispered.
Vincent nodded. You'll have it. And for the first time, I believed him. But I also knew this. Time was running out. Because Novak wasn't done yet. And neither was I. Days passed in silence. I didn't try to run again. I didn't ask more questions. Vincent gave me what I asked for, space, time, distance, but the walls still felt the same. Not prison walls, exactly, but soft, velvet-coated boundaries I hadn't chosen. I thought about Novak every night. About my father. About the debts passed down like a disease. I thought about Jace, living his life, unaware of the bullets we'd just barely dodged. But mostly, I thought about Vincent. There was a time I might have told myself he was just a complicated man doing what he had to in a brutal world. That his power was a shield, not a weapon. That maybe, just maybe, the things he said, the way he looked at me, meant more than control. That illusion shattered the day I followed him. It wasn't hard. He thought I was asleep. He was on the phone, quiet, clipped voice, low but urgent. Something in the way he moved, the way he said my name as he left the room, made my skin crawl. I waited a full 10 minutes, then slipped out barefoot, moving through the hallway like a ghost.
I knew the estate better now.
Knew which rooms had cameras and which didn't.
I kept to the shadow, listening.
I found the door partially open, his office, dimly lit.
I heard another voice through the speakerphone.
Male. Russian accent.
She's alive because he let her live.
Don't forget that, DeLuca. You tried to kill her. You failed, Vincent replied coldly. You think you can protect her forever?
You're dreaming.
I don't need to touch her. I just need to make sure you know I can. Vincent was silent for a moment, then said something that made my blood run cold.
She doesn't know.
Not all of it. And she won't.
The line clicked off.
He didn't move.
He stepped into the light.
She doesn't know what, Vincent? He turned sharply, eyes widening when he saw me. But he didn't look surprised. Only, tired. How long were you there? Long enough. What did you mean, she doesn't know? What aren't you telling me? He sighed, pinched the bridge of his nose, then gestured for me to sit. I didn't. You want the truth, he said. No, I snapped.
You want more lies.
Of course I want the truth. He studied me for a long moment. I knew, he said finally. I knew Novak had your name. I stared. I thought you said you intercepted the hit. I did. But not before it was too late to stop the car. My chest tightened. So, you let me drive that night.
Knowing Someone wanted me dead.
I had people watching. I was minutes away. I thought I could get there in time. You didn't. His jaw clenched. I made a call.
One yelled regret forever. He stepped back. Mike's knees trembled.
You used me.
No. He protected you.
No. You calculated me. I could see it now.
Everything falling into place.
The way he appeared.
The perfect timing. The isolation.
The way he made sure I had no one else to turn to. It wasn't a rescue. It was a setup.
You let me almost die just so you could keep me close.
I saved you. You engineered it, I hissed. You made sure I had no choice but to trust you. Silence stretched between us. He didn't deny it. I turned away, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear his next words. I didn't expect you to mean anything to me. You were just leverage. At first. That word. Leverage. But then. I said, laughing bitterly. You fell for me? Is that it?
That is your redemption arc.
His face hardened. I didn't plan this, Claire.
But on su rire, on s'y knew you.
No, I said. You don't get to do that. You don't get to play victim to your own manipulation.
He walked towards the door.
He didn't stop me. You told me Novak was the monster, I said quietly. But the truth is, you both are. I left the room. Packed what little I had. Took one of the cars from the garage. I'd learned the codes. I didn't say goodbye. And for the first time in weeks, I drove myself back to the city. The apartment was the same.
Dusty.
Cramped. Quiet. Jace looked up from the couch, startled.
Claire.
He ran to me, hugging me tight, eyes wide. I thought Vincent said, God, I didn't think I'd see you this soon. I held on to him for a moment, then pulled back. We need to talk. We sat. I told him everything. Not all the details, not the things I couldn't say out loud yet, but enough. About Novak. About our father. About the danger. He was pale by the end. Shaking. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I was trying to protect you. His laugh was sharp and humorless. That's exactly what he said. I frowned.
Vincent.
Jace hesitated. There's something I need to tell you. He stood, walked to his backpack, and pulled out a small device, black, square, familiar. It was a GPS tracker. I put this under your car. Weeks ago. The room went still. What? I didn't know what it was. A guy approached me, said he was an investigator, working on something about Dad. Said it was to keep you safe. He offered me money. I didn't think. I didn't know they'd hurt you. I stared at him, the floor tilting beneath me. You gave them my location. I didn't mean to.
He stood, tracing.
Jace, I almost died. They cut my brakes. You led them to me. Tears welled in his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I swear. I wanted to scream. To cry. To run. But instead I sat down, my hand shaking.
Did Vincent know?
Jace nodded slowly. He found out. That's why he took me in. Said he'd keep me safe. Said he'd fix it. And then he used me as bait, I said softly. I covered my face with my hands. I was surrounded by liars. Men who said they were protecting me while keeping me trapped. And the worst part? I couldn't tell anymore which one I hated more. Vincent. Or myself, for still caring. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heart hollow. There was one name echoing in my head. One ghost I hadn't faced yet.
Dmitri Nova.
He wanted a war. And now, he had one. I thought I'd be safe once I left Vincent. That the worst was behind me, and everything else, Novak, the lies, the power games, would fade into memory like a bad dream.
But monsters don't disappear when you close your eyes.
They wait. It started 3 nights after I returned. I was walking home from a night shift at the clinic. Jace was asleep, headphones on. The city was quiet, unusually so. The kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle. I felt it before I saw it. The sense of being watched. I turned once. Nothing. Again.
Still nothing.
But I knew. And when I reached my building, there it was. A white envelope taped to the front door. No address. Just my name. Claire. Inside, a photo of Jace, taken that day. At school. Sitting on a bench, drinking a soda, laughing with someone. The timestamp was from 2 hours earlier.
Der was a message written beneath it in red ink.
Payment comes due. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked inside, locked the door, and went straight to the closet. There was a box in the back. One Vincent had delivered to me months ago, before the crash, back when we were nothing more than nurse and donor. Inside it was a burner phone, a map, and a gun. I had never asked why he gave it to me.
Y'ad never touched it.
Until now. I dialed the number he had written on a note. He answered on the first ring. I told you to stay gone, I said. You called me, Vincent replied. Jace is in danger. Novak's watching him.
Et knows where we live. A bit of silence. Where are you right now?
At home. For now. I'm sending someone to get you. Stay inside. Don't move. I'm not leaving with your people.
You don't have a choice.
No, I said quietly. This time I do. If you want to help me, meet me. Alone. No guards. No tricks. Just you. He hesitated. Claire. You owe me that much. He exhaled. There's a parking garage on 9th and Spruce. Top level.
Midnight. I'll be there.
I hung up.
Then he loaded the gun.
The garage was nearly empty when I arrived. A black car sat in the far corner, engine off, headlights cold. I parked across from it, stepping out slowly, gun tucked inside my coat pocket. Vincent was leaning against the hood. He looked tired, worn down, but still sharp.
Still dangereux.
You came, he said. I told you I would.
Et studied me.
I heard about the photo. The message. Novak's not bluffing. He wants more than fear this time. Vincent nodded slowly. He's desperate. Which makes him reckless.
He stepped closer.
Then let's use that. He frowned. What are you saying? I want in. He stared. No. Yes. This isn't your fight. It became mine the moment my brakes were cut. The moment Jace got pulled in. The moment you made me a part of this. His jaw clenched. I won't put you in that kind of danger.
You don't get to protect me anymore.
Silence stretched between us. Finally, I said, I have one condition. Vincent raised an eyebrow.
You want full control of the mission.
No lies.
No manipulation. We do it my way.
And what is your way? We end it. Permanently. The next 2 days were a blur of planning. I met with one of Vincent's former contacts, a retired FBI field agent named Lawson. He trained me on everything, how to handle the gun, how to move under pressure, how to spot an ambush.
He learned fast.
Because I had to. We traced Novak to a warehouse near the port. Quiet.
Unassuming.
But inside, he was building something bigger, alliances, weapons trades, threats. His reach was growing. And Jace was the bait. They grabbed him on a Monday morning.
Broad daylight.
No warning. I got the call 10 minutes later. A blocked number.
A familiar voice.
If you want to see your brother alive, Novak said, come alone.
Midnight.
No weapons.
No Vincent.
I didn't answer. I just hung up. Then I called Vincent. They have him, I said. They want me. Alone.
No.
There's no other way.
El elbider. No, this time, you stay back.
I have a plan, but I need you to trust me. His silence was long. Then, I trust you. I almost laughed at the irony. The warehouse was colder than I expected.
Damp, dim lily.
Smelled like oil and dust. Jace was tied to a chair in the center of the room. Bruised. Bleeding.
Stie breeding. He stepped inside, enraged.
I'm here.
Nova emerged from the shadow like a ghost. Taleden y remember. Pale. Eyes like ice.
You look just like your mother, he said.
He said nothing.
He circled me slowly, then turned to Jace. He begged, you know. Like a child. He is a child, I said coldly. And you? What are you? I reached into my pocket and tossed something at his feet. A phone.
Life call.
Vincent was on the other end, listening to every word. Leverage, I said.
You wanted power.
Here it is. He stared at me, then laughed. You think you've outplayed me? I pulled the second device from my jacket.
A detonator.
No, I said. I didn't come to play. He froze. There's C4 under your car. Your men's weapons are empty. And every entrance to this building is being watched.
You're bluffing.
Try me. He lunged. I moved faster. The gun was in my hand, cold and certain. One shot. Straight to his chest. He collapsed, gurgling.
Jess screamed.
I ran to him, cut the ropes, held him tight. Sirens wailed in the distance. Vincent's voice came through the phone.
Claire.
It's done, I said. And for the first time since the crash, I believed it.
Outside, Vincent Meus.
He looked at me like I was someone else. Someone he didn't recognize. Is he dead? He asked. I nodded. You killed him. Yes. His eyes held something I hadn't seen before.
Pride.
And fear. You're not the same, he said. No, I agreed. I'm not. Because the girl who needed saving was gone. And all that was left was me. 2 weeks after I shot Dmitry Novak, I stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. There were no visible scars. The bruises had faded. The wounds had closed. But something beneath the surface had shifted. Permanently. The nightmares hadn't stopped. I woke in the middle of the night hearing gunshots that weren't there, smelling smoke that no longer burned. Sometimes I heard his voice in my head. Calm. Confident.
Cruel. You look just like your mother.
I hadn't told Jace everything. He didn't need to carry that weight. It was enough that he was safe, alive, home again. He had started therapy. School. Slowly finding his way back to something resembling normal. Me? I wasn't interested in normal. I had tasted control. Power. The moment I pulled the trigger, I became someone else.
Not just a survivor. Not just assisté.
A woman who no longer waited for anyone to save her. Vincent came to see me the night before I opened the clinic. It was raining. Of course it was. He never knocked. Just stood outside until I noticed. I opened the door and stepped aside. He walked in, silent, rain dripping from his coat. You're really doing it, he said, nodding toward the clinic sign, barely visible through the window. Yeah. It's time. You could have asked for funding. For help. I didn't want blood money. He flinched, just slightly. Enough to see the crack in his armor. Everything I have is blood money, he said. I know.
We stood in silence.
2 people who had been through war. Who had made choices they couldn't take back. Who had seen the worst in each other, and still hadn't looked away. You didn't answer my last message, he said finally. You didn't ask a question. I asked if you were done with me. I turned away, walked to the window, stared out into the night. You killed for me, he said. But that's not why I loved you. I didn't move. You didn't hesitate, he continued. You didn't flinch. You didn't wait for someone to come rescue you.
You walked into the fire and made it your own. I closed my eyes. You're dangerous, Claire.
More than I ever was.
Because you still believe in redemption.
I turned to face him. I don't believe in redemption, I said.
I believe in conséquence.
He nodded, took a breath. And what's mine? You don't get to love people by controlling them, Vincent. You don't get to call it protection when it's really possession. You don't get to erase someone's life so you can rewrite it with you in the center. He swallowed hard. I didn't know how else to keep you safe. You never gave me the chance to try on my own. We stared at each other, the air between us thick with things unsaid. Then I stepped closer, placed my hand gently on his chest.
I loved you, he whispered. Istido, Meb.
But that love cost me too much. His voice cracked. And if I changed? If I let go? It's not about you anymore, I said. It's about what I need. And what I need is to never feel like I belong to anyone again. He nodded, eyes shining but dry.
Will I see you again?
I hesitated. I'm not disappearing, I said. But I'm not yours. He turned to leave. At the door, he paused. I hope this place helps people. It will.
Because you're not juste dangereux, Claire.
I raised an eyebrow. You're necessary. Then he was gone. The clinic opened on a rainy Tuesday. Fitting. The first patients were exactly who I expected. Homeless veterans, young mothers, people slipping through the cracks. People who couldn't afford to wait for help. I didn't tell them my story. They didn't need it. They just needed someone who didn't look at them like numbers or lost causes. But I remembered every face, every name, every wound, because I knew now what it meant to carry pain in silence.
Tout fil invisible.
To be so afraid that even kindness felt like a trick. Vincent's money wasn't part of the clinic, but his shadow was. I felt it in the corners, in the security I never asked for, in the envelopes that arrived at the door with no sender name but the right equipment every time we ran low. He hadn't disappeared. He had simply stepped back. And I let him. Not because I owed him, but because part of me still believed that even devils could want to do something good. Months passed.
The nightmares grew quiété. Jess started college application.
The city changed in small ways.
Les guinfir in my neighborhood.
Fewer sirens. More whispers about a power shift no one dared speak aloud. Novak was gone, but someone else had stepped in. Someone more discreet. I never asked who. I didn't need to.
One morning, he found a letter in my mailbox. No return address.
Inside, a single ultrasound image. 8 weeks. Healthy. There was no note. Just my name. I sat in my office for a long time after that. Thinking.
Feeling.
Terrified. Hopeful.
Alive.
Later that night, I told Jace. He stared at me, shocked. Then nodded once. You'll be good at it, he said. At what? Being a mom. You already saved me. That's more than most ever do. I didn't cry until he left the room. Not because I was afraid, but because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't. I stood on the clinic's rooftop the night before the anniversary of the crash.
The city lights blinked below.
The world kept turning. Cars kept crashing. People kept hurting. But I was still here.
Still standing.
And I'd made a choice. I wasn't going back to who I was. I wasn't waiting for someone to write my ending. I was writing it myself. Because revenge had been satisfying. But justice was something I could live with. Something I could build from. And this time, no one would burn it down.